Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. This is Wild Strawberry by Iri Yamamoto. A new series on Shonen Jump came out just a couple of weeks ago, and it is freaking amazing. Like, the story is cool, the artwork is brutally fantastic. It's one part Tokyo Ghoul, one part Jagon, one part Chainsaw Man, throw in a little bit of Full Night. Sprinkle a little bit of Prototype, the video game series, with a dash of Silent Hill F, which hasn't come out yet, but just from the teasers, this is kind of what I'm getting. It's, basically, plants have taken over the world. They're killing people, they're infecting people, and this is just the story of a guy trying to save his sister. So, plants have evolved. They can now feed on humans and become terrible monsters known as Jinka. Kingo and Kayano do their best to survive in a Tokyo overrun by plants, but when Kayano becomes a Jinka, Kingo will do anything he can to get her back. So, in this world, a giant flower has bloomed over Tokyo and released this like pollen that infects people, and the people who are infected, there's a vaccine that they can take that will temporarily hold the flower back. But if you're not up to your dosage, if you take in too much pollen, then you bloom. And when I say you bloom, I basically mean that flowers sprout from out of your body in a gory fashion, and you become a Jinka, which is like a flower monster that goes around eating other people. And we start off this series with our main character. His name is Kingo, and he is inside a supermarket just covered in plants, and like all the store shelves are empty, and he sees some food, like some canned goods, and he starts stealing some of them. When the store owner sees them and says, "Hey, are you going to pay for that?" And that's when Kingo pulls up like his left sleeve and reveals like a flower coming out of it. Basically, he's saying, "Okay, I'm a Jinka. Why don't you just ignore what I just did and forget about all this?" And that's when the store clerk is like, "Now I can get my revenge," and chases Kingo down. And they're like running through the city, just covered in plants. Anyone who's played like The Last of Us, or I guess watched the HBO series, it's kind of like that. Just plants have taken over the entire city. When all of a sudden, this Jinka appears out of nowhere and eats the clerk. And Kingo just keeps running. And he talks about how 36 years ago, plants engulfed Tokyo. Everything kind of came to a standstill because the plants just overran everything. No one knows how these creatures came to be, like what happened to all the plants. All we know is that the plants have evolved and they absorb nutrients from humans. And as Kingo is walking, his sleeve falls down, revealing a human hand and him holding a flower, revealing that he's not a Jinka. He was just faking being one so that he could try to get some free food. And he arrives at this crappy apartment building where his sister is there. And his sister has some flowers blooming from her back. She is a Jinka. And we get this scene that takes place in another city where we see a family and they're eating at a diner, and the little girl doesn't want to take her vaccine, like her next update shot, her booster shot. But the parents are like, you have to, otherwise you're going to have flowers burst from your body. And that's when they see this old man sitting next to him, eating like crazy, and flowers just blow out of his head, and shooting blood and gore everywhere, drenching the people who are dining inside. And it appears on the news, and it turns out that the man wasn't updated on his vaccines. And Kingo's kind of watching all this, and he's like, "Man, the fact that it made it on the news must mean that that place is pretty sweet." Because here in Tokyo, in the inner city of Tokyo, whenever someone blooms, no one cares. It doesn't make the news because this is just an everyday occurrence. So the fact that there's a place where it makes the news means that it's very rare that it happens there, and that's got to be a pretty sweet place to live. We get this flashback where we see Kingo and Kayano. Kayano is his sister. They are at an orphanage, and Kingo is drawing this family restaurant, and he makes a promise to her that one day me and you are going to share a meal as a family at a place like that. that's when they get told that, hey, a family wants to adopt you. Like there's a couple that want to raise you as their kids. And Kingo is super excited, and the family takes him home and says, like, I hope one day you'll be able to call us mom and dad. And they go to sleep, and Kayano is awake. She wakes up Kingo and leads her brother downstairs, where they overhear their new adopted parents talking about how they picked the wrong kids because the girl's like nothing but skin and bones. How are they going to be able to get anything out of her? Kingo's like, okay, something's totally wrong here. We got to get the hell out of here. And that's when the parents discover that the kids are eavesdropping, and their head splits open. And remember, like all the other manga series that I mentioned earlier, where you can add Parasite into the mix as well, because the head splits open, kind of like in the very first chapter of Parasite, and just this like disgusting plant flower pops out with just rows of teeth, and they're gonna devour the kids. And the flower basically gobbles up Kingo and Kayano, and all of a sudden the flower explodes. And that's when Kingo realizes that Kayano is a Jinka, because there's a flower blooming from her right eye, and it's come out and it's eaten the parents. And then after eating the parents, it turns to Kingo as if it's about to eat him. And that's when Kayano says, no, you can't eat Kingo. And then the flower goes back into Kayano's eye. And so for some reason, Kayano is a Jinka, but she's able to control the flower rather than the flower controlling her. Like the flower hasn't taken over her body. Instead, it's inhabiting her body, but she's able to control it. And so years have passed, they've grown older, and now Kingo is doing everything that he can to protect his sister. He has hidden her in his apartment. He can't let her out because her right eye looks a little bit like a flower. It has like petals coming out of it. So anyone who sees her will immediately know that she's a Jinka and will go after her. And there are these people, they're called the Flower Funeral Force. Best way to think about them is if you watch or read Chainsaw Man, they're like the devil, the public safety devil hunting group. It's pretty much that. It's a government-funded corporation group that go around and they destroy Jinkas. So it turns out that Kingo is one of them. He's not like a hunter or anything like that, though. He doesn't go around fighting Jinkas. Instead, he's kind of like part of like the cleanup crew. His job is basically to go and just torch. Like he has like a flamethrower and he just torches the remains of the Jinka to make sure that it doesn't like spread and infect other people. So he's not like an actual fighter or anything like that. So he's just finished torching one of them with the flamethrower with his partner, and they decide to take like a lunch break, and they're just kind of having conversation about how life was like before everything bloomed and before everything got basically turned to crap. And that's when they get a report that another Jinka bloomed, and the location is at Kingo's house, his apartment. He's like, oh no, somehow they found Kayano. And so he rushes across the street where he sees a bunch of the Flower Funeral Force surrounding Kayano, who has bloomed. She's just floating up in the air with a bunch of vines and petals and flowers sprouting out of her back. And the Flower Funeral Force start blowtorching her. And Kingo's telling them to stop. That just because she's a Jinka doesn't mean that she's going to harm anyone. Like, she is a Jinka that knows how to she can control the Jinka within herself. And the captain of the group is like, all right, raise the level alert. This is a special variance. We got to kill this thing immediately. And that's when Kingo, like, he gets grabbed by one of the Flower Funeral Force, and they're trying to drag him away. When he fights back, he grabs one of the torches, and he basically holds it to one of the Flower Funeral Force's head. And he's like, hey, I know how to use this thing. If you don't stop blowtorching my sister, I'm going to kill this guy. So back off. And the captain pulls out a gun, shoots Kingo in the chest. He drops to the floor. As Kayano is watching her brother bleeding out, the captain stands over him and puts a bullet in the back of his head and just blows his brains out. Kingo's dead. So our main character dies in the very first issue. Meanwhile, Kayano sees this. She kind of has a flashback. We see that the two of them are not actually blood-related siblings, but despite that, Kingo sees Kayano as his sister and says, like, I know we're not related by blood, but you're my sister, and I'm going to try to be the best brother for you that I can. And seeing her sibling die right in front of her, she just explodes. Literally. She literally explodes. We got this like beautiful shot of just like all these blooming flowers erupting from her body. Wraps over all the Flower Funeral Force members and knocks them all out. And then that's when backup arrives. And that's when this scientist arrives. His name is Maki. He's going to play a bigger part in future chapters. But he's like going over the injury report. And there were 31 officers present for the torching of Kayano. All 31 were wounded, but none of them died, which is very, very strange because Jinka always go in, as soon as they bloom, they eat anyone that's around them. So how could this Jinka have bloomed and not killed anyone? So he asks one of the soldiers, like, hey, what happened to the Jinka? And the soldier says, we weren't able to eradicate it, but we were able to capture it. The Jinka is inside of him. And then it cuts to Kingo, who is alive, and he has a flower blooming out of him. So, yeah, that's how the first chapter ends. There, at the time of this recording, there's 2 more chapters that have been released. We're at chapter 3. This is, I think it's a weekly series, because like I said, it came out July 14th. We're already 3 chapters in, and it is freaking amazing. Kingo is a cool character so far, like just what we've seen of him. He's not like some of the other shonen protagonists that you get where they're like very naive or stupid or anything like that. Like he comes across as kind of smart in what he's doing. Like he's no scholar student or anything like that, but he's street smart. He's not naive or dumb. Like he can understand people. Like he can read people really good. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just nice to read a shonen series where we don't have a retard for a main character, because that always seems to be the case. At least the stuff I end up reading always seem to have like an idiot for a main lead. Thankfully, we don't have that here. But yeah, the series is really awesome so far. Like I absolutely love it. It's only 3 chapters, but it's been 3 phenomenal chapters. The action scenes are just amazing. The artwork is like, holy cow, the artwork is so good. It's so freaking good. Unfortunately, you know, I'm not going to be able to show interiors because this is a Shonen Jump series, which means it belongs to Shueisha. And Shueisha has a tendency to put copy strikes on anything that shows their artwork. So, yeah, sorry about that. But take it from me, it is amazing. I highly recommend checking it out. It is freaking, like, the artwork is great. The story is really cool and intriguing. It kind of combines a bunch of series that I love and kind of makes it its own. So that's cool. It has some really good characters so far. Like I said, Maki plays a bigger part in chapter 2 and 3, and he is a good character. Like he's a good secondary protagonist, or I guess sidekick to Kingo. He doesn't come across as like annoying or anything like that. You'll think, okay, this is a shonen. We got our shonen MC in Kingo. That means we got to have like the rival or the stoic, cold character who pushes everyone away. No, we don't have that yet. Maki's not that character. Maki is really generous to a fault. Kingo is an awesome character. I like the dynamic of the fact that, like, you know, here's a brother willing to do anything to save his sister. And here's a sister who literally gave her life to save her brother. And now Kingo's mission is to try to bring her back. And just, you got to travel this world, this city where you are a monster. So yeah, like, he has to hide the fact that he's a Jinka, because otherwise people will try to kill him. Because Jinka are monsters who eat humans, except somehow, for some reason, the Jinka within him doesn't want to hurt humans, and instead follows the orders of its host. So again, it kind of reminds me of Parasite in that regard. But yeah, this is great. I'll leave a link to where you can read it below. I mean, you can go read it on Manga Plus, but it's fantastic. Like I absolutely love it. It is so good. I hope it continues to be great. I mean, like I said, it's 3 amazing chapters so far. Hopefully, the next chapter just continues to improve. But it's been a really phenomenal ride so far. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. So what'd you guys think of that video? I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for a notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlist that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.